Hello again, everyone. New vintage TV restoration starting today. This is a 1949 TeleKing. There's the logo. This is a 10-inch set. Model is 410. And they made several models of these TeleKings. They made a 10-inch, 12-inch, a couple of different cabinet styles. This is what's called a table model. Cabinet on this set is, I would say, in okay condition. And what I mean by that, there's very little veneer missing. This has a textured look to it. I'm not sure if that's supposed to be that way or if that's a lacquer that's spider webbed. And we do have all the original knobs. This is a channel 2 to 13 VHF set. Decals are really faded, but they're still there. Here's a look at the top. Yeah, it's got a lot of scratches, but considering that it's 73 years old or 74 years old, it's not too bad. We got a scratch over here. But the cabinet, like I said, not really in too bad a shape. We've got a little decorative piece. This looks like maple, maybe around the perimeter of the CRT. And it kind of stands out from the cabinet. See, it's got a lip on it there that it juts out. That's a glass implosion shield, and then we got a little decorative bezel. It was probably gold color when it was new. Here's the other side with the speaker. Speaker grill still looks good. So that's a plus. When you don't see any holes in the grill cloth, that usually is a good sign that the speaker is still okay. So let's flip this thing around. We'll look at the back. Take the back off and we'll look at the chassis and see what we've got to work with. We've got no markings whatsoever on it. No model number, serial number, anything. Not in too bad a shape. It's got a couple of gouges right here for some reason. Alright, let's see what we have inside. Well, that's interesting. Got a couple of jacks laying inside. Other than that, looks like most everything is there. High voltage cage is loose, and we're missing a cord. AC cord goes right there. They're usually bad anyway, so that doesn't really matter on that. Antenna terminals right here. Well, we don't have good news on the picture tube. I've removed the base. I thought maybe the solder connections were bad. The base was loose, so I thought, well, I'll just pull it off. It needs to be resoldered anyway. And filaments are open. So you can see I've tinned the leads really well, so I know I'm making good connection, but we got no filaments, so can't use that tube. So we'll be getting a 10-inch tube for this set, if we can get the restorer on track. And actually, there's a serial number, 26258. Don't see a model number anywhere, but we got a serial. Here. Check that. There's a model number and a serial. 26258, model 410. Tube layout. Oh, that's pretty neat. That's still there. And we got some labels here for the controls. Linearity, see it points this way, so that's this one. And that would be the height. This is sound discriminator. Horizontal oscillator frequency. And that's a focus control. So let's pull the chassis out and we'll see if we can figure out what's going on with these two jacks here. Okay, got the chassis out of the cabinet. So we can take a closer look to these cables that have been added. I'll start with the CRT socket. And looks like pins 2, 10, and 11 have been jumpered. In other words, here's the 3 original wires coming out of the chassis, and they go to this plug and then back out to the socket. So I think if we just, and you can see where the socket's been taken apart, looks like. So I think we can just run these 3 wires that have been cut right here from the chassis directly to the socket, and that should take care of that. And this other one, I think these are in a deflection circuit. You can see that the yoke wires have been cut, and then they run to the socket and then onto the chassis. So again, I think if we can just hook the wires from the chassis directly to the yoke like it originally was, that should take care of that. I'm going to do some studying here to make sure that that's what's going on, but it sure looks like it. The question is these wires right here. They're going under the chassis right there, and there's one right there. We just have to figure out what's going on here to get the yoke wired back up to the set like it's supposed to be. In fact, in looking at this yoke wire, it's still attached to the yoke, but it also goes to the socket. So we have to figure that out. I think the CRT socket's going to be pretty simple. This one, I don't know. And watching Bob Anderson's video about the projector that hooks up to a conventional TV chassis, I think that's what this chassis was used for. Well, as I begin to figure this wiring out to the CRT socket, taking the socket apart, and the yellow wire goes to pin 11. That goes to the center conductor, or the center taper of the brightness control, which is right here. So we trace that wire back, and we got some damage here. I think where it's laid against this paper cap, it got hot. See, the insulation's pretty much gone, so I think I'm going to find a new piece of wire. We'll change that. Okay, and a new wire ran, the yellow wire that you see there. And here's the other end of it. Goes to the CRT socket. CRT socket wired back the way it should be. There's a jumper that was connected. And we had the wire wrap back on. So let me put this cover on. That should take care of that. Making some progress, but we ran into a problem. The horizontal winding on the yoke was, there's 3 connections, and it was reading from pins 1 to 2, but then from pins 2 to 3 it wasn't reading anything, and there's why. See the 2 ends of the wire there. Hopefully we can repair that. If not, we'll have to hunt for a yoke for this set. Was able to splice it back, so now we should have a reading between pins 1 and 2, and we do. That's 7 ohms. And then between 1 and 3 should be 14 or so, and it is. I used to do this when we had the TV repair shop and had pretty good success with it holding. It just burning 2 right there on the outer part of the winding. And I will put some insulation in here so when we slide the picture tube on it, it won't be laying against that and possibly rub it in 2. Both of the external jacks removed, all the wiring. And I think we're to a point now where we can start to troubleshoot this set and see if we can make it work. So I'm going to put the cover back on the yoke. And go ahead and, this all needs to be cleaned up, of course, but until we get the set working, I'm not going to be too concerned about that. Alright, initial power up. And I'm on the filter cap on a like 275 source. And we got 267, 209, 245. Now just getting ready to say that cap is getting hot. And she just released. I did slowly bring up the power right. I started about 80 volts, but it couldn't stand the strain, so we'll let that thing cool down and we'll replace it and then go from there. It's a 3-section, and fortunately they're all the same value. 40, 40, 40, all at 450, so that's easy to keep track of. We won't mess up maybe. Right now I'm just going to tack them in. I'll unhook the original, of course. We'll just take these wires and put them on the new caps, resistor, all of this stuff. Just going to tack them in right now. Okay, got 3 caps just tacked in. So let's see what happens now. Well, we got another cap that's belched out. You can see it just happened whenever I did a power up. That goes to the damper tube. Pin 3, which is right there. So it's probably that one right there, 0.035. Let's clip it out and tack a new one in and see if we make any improvements. Alright, I had an old restuff that I'd hung on to. That's a new cap inside that old sleeve right here. So we changed that. Had the anode unhooked. Let's see if we got anything. Yeah, that's 7,000 volts. So let's clip it on the CRT and see if we get any kind of an image. Anode hooked up. And we're drawing almost 1.5 amps. I am turned down to, well, about 105. As you can see, I've been changing several paper caps. The reason being the horizontal is off frequency. So, well, paper caps are bad, so let's change all of them and see if that'll take care of the problem, and so far it hasn't. There's a horizontal frequency on the output tube, the drive of the output tube. 12.6 thousand. That's low. Should be over 15,000. And so far I haven't found the reason for that. But we're going to quit for the day. Put in a pretty long day. It's 6:35 or 6:34. And I started this morning about 10, so that's enough for today. We'll get back on it tomorrow and see if we can figure out why the frequency is off so far. Now, on a good note, we do have some high voltage. We've got 5,000 or so, which is not enough. But that's a start. So that's it for today. We'll get back on it tomorrow. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you did, how about subscribing to our channel? We would really appreciate it. Thanks.